Hello. This is going to be a review of Richard Taesch's book, The Introduction to Music for the Blind Student, Part 1. And with this, when you get it, you will get the lesson book and the music book. And then there's a supplement book here. So, he also does have a part 2, and I will be including a link to that at the end of this video. So first, let's do part 1. Zooming in on here. The first phase deals a lot with basic intervallic singing, sight singing, scales, ear training, note, interval identification. The philosophy of this course is actually based from European science, I wouldn't say science, but European music studies and older types of music studies where they would teach the theory before they taught musical instruments. And that's kind of what I was saying with the feel the beat, that the student should focus on music reading, then later they can apply the recorder or any other instrument as they are comfortable with reading music notes. So looking at this book, phase 1 covers the first 5 lessons, and it deals with just, basic ear training. He calls it the rudiments of music. At the end of each lesson, there is a summary, and then phase 2 will cover the first 5 pitches. There's also a music dictation at the end. I don't think the Feel the Beat has music dictation, but I have no doubt that you could incorporate that, and the earlier students can start writing music from sound, the better. That will really help their musical ability when it comes to higher musical training. Part 3 talks about melodic interpretations. Things covered are the 6th scale degree, the octaves. There's some octave signs that are covered, common time signature, flats, sharps, A minor, the 3rd octave. I think the 4th octave sign is introduced with phase 2. In Braille music, there is no staff, so all of the pitches are denoted by octave signs, and that's how we know where in which register to play them. Phase 4 covers key signatures. We got the key of G, we got the key signature, whatever that is, the key of C or G again, the scale of G, ties, naturals, and fermatas, the pickup measure, also the anacrusis, phrasing, musical hyphen. I think here the musical hyphen is specifically a Braille thing. It's not a music thing for print readers. The key of E minor, and then you got composition and formatting, and then another summary, and then you have your appendix to section 1, or to part 1, which is all of the music theory exams, which is really fun. They can be augmented and made more interesting. Then there's Appendix 2, which covers Braille signs, and then there's the Index of Musical Terms, and My Chicken Scratch, which just exercises for daily studies. Next, we have, I'm not sure what that is. Oh, that's a dedication. Page 9. Oh, that must be in the Braille book. I should note that everything in here, in all these books, they do have Braille copies. So if a blind student is really good at reading literacy, they could potentially take themselves through this course. This is the paragraph here that I was mentioning about the philosophy of the course. And I'm going to try to zoom out so that you can read it. And I'm not getting it all the way in there, and I don't want to zoom out too much because then you can't read it. But I'll skim through this, and you guys can read that. Most of the modern music books that teach music, they teach instrumentation along with music theory, and it really is crippling to the student because they don't know how to sight read music. It's kind of like they're trying to write a story before they know their alphabet, which is kind of sad. So that's the paragraph for phase 1, for phase 1. And then after the information here, you've got your introductory material, basically laying out your lessons. Each chapter or each lesson has a things to do, and then this is things to remember, and then they have things to do, and then after the things to do they have assignments, and these assignments and even here the things to do, they're not meant to be breezed through easily. If the student is breezing through them easily, either they're really, really good or they're just trying to get through it without really learning the concept very strongly. So here, I'm just going to read number 3. It says, how fast can you find 2 Mi keys or scale step 3s that follow C? Remember to count C as step 1. So this is just pitch identification on the piano keyboard. Student finds a C and sees how fast they can find Mi. This can easily be switched out. Instead of Mi, you could use Sol or T, or instead of finding 2 Mi's, how about 8 Mi's or 6 Mi's? Easily, these things can be switched around. Also, a really good exercise for this would be if the student has sight, have them close their eyes, or better yet, use a blindfold or something, or sleep mask, and have them find the pitches without using their vision. This will greatly enhance their keyboard geography, and that's something that can be done as kind of like a extra thing. Here at number 6, it says hold down the left finger on middle C, do, and play re with the right finger. Go up the scale, sing each scale degree as you play. Say do between each note. For example, do, re, do, mi, do, fa, do, sol, so on and so forth. This is actual a music oral skills exercise that college and university students will do. They have all kinds of little things like these that students have to sing and master them for their oral skills classes. So this is really neat that he incorporates, there's a lot of elements drawn from higher education that is actually pulled into this book, which is really good because essentially when the student is done with this book, they will be able to hopefully get through the first couple years of ear training and sight singing without too much of a hassle. They'll already have basically a leg up on all the other students. And then there's chicken scratch there again. I'm a glutton for punishment. The next lesson talks about octaves and intervals. So they talk about what the 5th octave is, and the 4th octave, things like that. I think the 4th octave is mentioned later, but that's definitely the 5th octave. And then there's some more assignments. And then there's like this assignment has 7 passages, 7 segments to it. This one deals with singing scales and intervals. These are where I put my what do they call it? Daily studies. So like the first one would be sing the C scale from middle C, do, while you or your teacher plays a scale. Sing the scale numbers 1 to 8, then sing using syllable names, do through T, and then ending on with do. That would be an example of something. And this scale thing here, you could probably do it on all the diatonic, on the white keys of the scale. So that way the student, instead of always starting on do, they could begin on re and sing the scale up from re to re, and get used to hearing other tonalities. They're still in the key of C, but they're singing a little bit different. They're singing, basically they're singing modes, and that will just keep things a little bit more interesting, so the student isn't just singing the same old scale over and over again, and then they get bored and then they quit. Let's see, ask a friend or parent to assist you with practice singing intervals and identifying scale step numbers every day. This is actually really hard if you don't have anyone that's willing to do this. But if you do, more power to you. If you don't, again, use a blindfold, like put on a blindfold and just randomly play intervals and see if you can identify them by touch. I would say a drawback would be after so many times, or if you do play piano, you will start to recognize intervals by just how far the fingers are spread apart. So that is something you might want to be aware of, but I don't think it should be a real big to-do for most people. But if you definitely like play a lot, you're going to recognize what a fourth feels like. You're going to recognize what a fifth feels like, and that point you may want to have someone help you with identifying if you've got that muscle memory. Lesson 4 deals with sight singing and solfege. So this is the first lesson where the music book is actually introduced. So with that, we're going to switch from the lesson book to the music book. This book, because it's oblong, it reminds me a lot of organ music. Organ music is written in weird paper like this. So here's your contents, which not too much there. And then there's some more contents and more contents. These songs or these pieces are broken up into phases. This is the introductory for the teacher. And then you've got, this is your lesson for phase 1, lesson 4. First, in my book, there are, in the Braille copy, I should say, there are no indications of line numbers or anything like that. So what I did was I took felt pieces from another course that I was in, and you're thinking I'm still in it, but I'm not in it. And then marking down each line where each exercise essentially begins. Like this is a continuation of this line here. So, and then also I just marked in the side what number each of these exercises are. There's 8 exercises on this page. And then up at the top, I've wrote out some metronome markings, and I wrote down a plan of attack of actually learning this and really trying to understand it. So first I would set the metronome at 60 and work my way up from 60 to 100. Each click of the metronome would represent one number. So 1, 2, 3 would be 3 clicks. 3, 2, 1 would be 3 clicks. So each click would be a number that I would be singing on. Straightforward. And then I've got it marked from 60 to 100. 60, nice, moderate tempo, not too fast, not too slow, about the heart rate of a person's heart. So easy thing there. And so reading through music in tempo helps students with tracking music in time. The finger, when you're reading Braille music, the finger needs to be a measure ahead of where you're singing. It's taken me a while to really get this, and it's something that I really need to focus on when I practice and things like that. But it's kind of like when piano teachers would tell sighted students to keep their eyes looking ahead. I remember, oh gosh, this was years ago. I watched a video. Sweet old lady. I remember she had this beautiful green shirt. Um, I mean, she was my grandmother. I would love her to pieces. um, but she was talking about the importance of music lessons and the importance of music reading. That music is a whole and that we shouldn't be dividing things into clarinet lessons or piano lessons and things like that. But she was talking about music reading. And one of the things she was talking about was that if you have like music books, pull them out and, play through them, and your eyes should always be looking towards the right. If your eyes are going towards the left, then it means you're doing it wrong. And her visual of how she was doing it, like her eyes were just, she was doing a demonstration of this, and all I could see was the whites of her eyes. And I was like, holy cow. But that was what, she was emphasizing that students, when they're reading music, they have to read ahead of where they are playing. And the same with Braille music, the student needs to read ahead of where they are playing or stroke singing. So back to my little spiel here. So I would learn each bar, and that's how I would learn how to read a little bit ahead of where I'm reading. And then I try to read a line. And then after reading a line, and this would be like through all of these exercises, I would read like this bar. I would read all the bars on each of the exercises in the various tempos at a reasonably okay / high passing marking according to my standards. I have very high standards for myself. And then I'd read through each line, which is a little bit more challenging. To be honest, it really does test that tracking ahead. And then reading 2 lines at a time. So this would be reading like here, line 1, and then number 2. This would be on line 7 for line 8, 9. But reading the first exercise and then reading the second exercise. This will actually incorporate 2-hand method of Braille reading. So practice in that, yay, for proper Braille reading. And then I would learn 4 lines of music. So there would be like the first 4 lines and then the second 4 lines. And eventually I'd get down to the whole page. And then I would read through the whole page. When I was working through this a couple years ago, I don't think I got to the whole page part. I think I got to like this 4-line section. I really can't be sure. But then, so with this, you sing the numbers, but then also you can sing solfeggio. So this would be do, re, mi, re, do, mi, re, mi, re, do. If you don't put the breaks in there, like I did, I was debating, do I want to do this by bars or do I want to do this by a line? If we did this by just singing the whole way through, it would sound like do, re, mi, re, do, do. That's what it would sound like. And obviously planning where to breathe and things like that is kind of important. So this is like this first page. It kind of gets you to tracking Braille correctly, tracking Braille music in time, especially when you're using metronomes. Also, Richard and I believe it's Richard and someone else. I forget. I think it was Bill McCann. I forget. But they put together a book. I know for sure Richard Taesch is involved with it. But they did a book called Who is Afraid of Braille Music? And in it, it's primarily written for printed people to demystify music Braille. But in it, he does use these .36, and he uses those as kind of like almost like a tie. So you'd hold the beat for an extra count. And I, for the longest time, could not figure out how to treat these. But when I was looking at that book, I saw that in there, that was how he was treating this, as basically it's a tie that would tie over, and without having the extra note there, it's just something you kind of got to learn from experience or from research and things. So I wrote that in the bottom of the book, and now you guys know, so that you guys can have that information. The Braille, the printed copy does have some interesting thing about Braille page, Braille things specifically that would help the sighted teacher with navigating through Braille. Oh, your page numbers are at the bottom of the page. So then your next phase 2, is when you are actually learning music notes. I highlighted all the stuff that would be introduced as they are things to kind of pay attention to. Like if I'm working with a sighted teacher, they would know, okay, the pitch sol is a new thing here. They also, this is your octave mark, and this is your final ending, along with a whole note and your exercise numbers. So in this book, all the simulated Braille is on the left side of the binding, and the print music is all on the right side. And again, I just wrote in simple solfege in there for if a teacher were to utilize that. And then it basically just goes through and teaches different concepts. Here they've got time signatures that are introduced, along with just more Braille reading, music reading. And then that's the printed side. I would say the printed music in here is not the greatest. I actually find it a little difficult to read. To me, it seems a little stretched out from the top, if that makes sense. But it just seems, I don't know if it's not bold or what, but I always find this music very difficult to read. So then continuing on here, you've got more music things. And obviously these exercises are mentioned as they are being introduced in the course book. So let's see. Here you have a tie. So they do mention Braille's things that are introduced. Here's a key signature of 1 sharp. So they start introducing ties. There's your key signature, and right there is the tie. So that's how that lines up. And I could have easily marked out the English Braille and the English music, the same symbols here, so that the teacher kind of knows, but I just haven't got that far yet. But definitely as the Braille music, I thought, well, I should really mark up that because it's easier for me to see. And that's pretty much all they have in the lesson book or the music book. I think in most it looks like you've got quavers, cratchets, minims, and obviously there's some semibreves and a couple rests, and slurs, phrase. I would say these are more or less phrase markings. They look more like phrase markings than actual slurs, but yeah. So that is the music book. I'm going to put that on the shelf or on my desk next to me. So then continuing through the rest of this, they introduce the alphabetic letters for Braille music and numbers. And at the end of each lesson, it covers the concepts that are covered. Oh, the fourth octave was covered in lesson 1. Now we learned something new. Look at that. So this stuff all is concepts that could be used for exam, or to see did the student actually comprehend this stuff. There is in the end of the book, there is a theory exam. So that could be utilized at the end of each phase as well. So then the next section covers with the first pitches of Braille. There is a little blurb here for teachers. I wouldn't say a very little blurb, but it's a big blurb. Also, I wanted to say, with my chicken scratch, I have a lot of chicken scratch. These are various books that I have in my personal library that are very good. Not just these books, but having supplemental material for this book for the Braille is going to be good for teaching or for giving the student enough music reading practice. There is not a lot of music reading practice in this course where the student just has a bunch of music and they just practice reading. So that is what all of this weird stuff at the bottom is. It's just my weird notes that I have that I can utilize for music practice, and like here I've got ear training, rhythm, and these are sight singing exercises. And the ear training and things like that, there are some exercises in the front of the book in that first phase that could be utilized for daily ear training. That will help as well without having to actually go through and find other material. I'm trying to find, here it is. Nope. Here it is. No, that's phase 4. Key signatures. I am looking for well, that's your phrase marking. This is my own chicken scratch because I don't have that written out in Braille or in English notation. Somewhere here is it? I'm trying to here. Darn it! Now I can't get to it. This is theory examinations. Again, these can be used at the end of each section of a group of lessons. And these can also be adapted very easily. Number 2, no, this is number 3. Number 3 says, what letter name, let me think here. What is the letter name that, I can't read English. What is the letter name of the note that is 4 steps above middle C? These questions are really, really wordy. I would just say, what is the 4th above middle C? But still, the intervals can easily be altered. Instead of a 4th, say a 3rd or a 6th or something like that. Instead of middle C, what is the letter name of a 3rd above D? Make it different. Change it up a little bit. So a lot of these questions can be altered in different manners so that they can be utilized over and over and over and over again. Here they're interval recognition here, writing out the musical alphabet in letters beginning and ending on F. Why end on F when you can work your way through D or work your way to B or something like that? You can add more of these things. Scale letters, writing out scales. Here, it's a measure. Which measure of these is kind of like the odd one out? It's kind of like which measure doesn't have the correct number of beats, basically. And so the student needs to be able to identify between the notes and rests and see which one is what. They should be, let's see. I'm looking at that and I'm trying to figure out what it is. I think it's that one, but I'm not sure because that no, I don't know. Yeah. This one deals with copy, basically like copy your music in Braille. This one says basically, I think it's reading using only C right enough quarter notes to make up one measure in each of the following time signatures. So this is reading the time signatures and being able to do the proper math arithmetic thing there to add it all up. So yeah, these theory exams, like I said, there's a lot here. A couple fill in the blanks. So they've got some of those, which is kind of fun. I like fill in the blanks. I'm surprised they don't have like true false on here. I kind of wish they had true false on here. At least they'd give you a 50-50. So then after the theory exam, there is notation, Braille, what do they call this? It's index of music Braille signs. So these are all the Braille signs that are introduced in this part. Definitely got 2 pages. Yeah. Oh, almost 3 pages. About 2.5 pages there. And then here there is glossary, or not a glossary. It's like an index of terms, looking up different things in music, what page things are on. I should say there is, let's see, there's piano fingering in here, but they don't have it under, like, piano keyboard or anything like that. They don't have where the piano fingering are. So I don't know if they have it under fingering or what. Fixed do. Here. Okay, they've got fingering, comma, piano. And then they've got the different scales, I guess. Yeah, so they do have piano fingering in here, which is kind of interesting. There's not a whole lot of piano stuff in here, but there is some. And definitely having access to a piano does really help with the theory understanding. Any keyboard instrument is going to help in that area. So then after we have gone through the lesson book, part 1 does also have a supplementary book. I have not gone through it, so I really don't know what is in here. I think it's mostly a bunch of duets, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not real sure. Oh, there is a little bit more up here. So, these basically I think can be used for supplemental reading practice. And then there's a little thing for the student and teacher, which is nice. So, but I would not, this would be good as far as supplemental work because it's already like here, but extra stuff is definitely going to be needed if the student is gonna read really well, especially if they're going to be heading to university. There's a chance I would say if they can complete this course, both parts 1 and 2, they could possibly test out of their first year oral skills course, like sight reading part. The ear training might be another thing, but if they do have a lot of ear training as they're going through the course, they might be able to get out of that as well. So this stuff mostly sticks within the treble range. There's not a whole lot when it comes to like bass clef music. Like here there's a little bit, but there's not a lot here for reading outside of the 4th, 5th octave, a little bit in the 3rd. So, and then there's more music. This basically is a music book. Here's another duet. Here's another duet. Another duet. Solo music. The scales section. There's a small scale section. This will be mentioned more about in the second phase, or the second, what do they call it? It's the second part, and that's the last of that. So, that is a rough review of the first part for the Richard Taesch's book. And I hope it is able to serve somebody. These books are a little bit on the pricey side, but they do have them at the NLS library, the National Library, and you can check them out there. And then you won't have to like spend hundreds of dollars. I don't know. I don't know how much these books cost, but they are not cheap. Like even the print copies are not cheap. But the NLS library does have this set so that you can easily check them out from there. They also have the print as well as the Braille. And so that is an option if you do not have the fundings or the wherewithal to purchase the books yourselves. They can be checked out. The next video, if you want to watch that, is going to be here, and it will be covering part 2. If you would like to see a review on the Feel the Beat, you can click here, which is the upper video. And if you want to subscribe, you can click here or wherever the subscription thing is. All right. I hope to see you in the next video.